Let's talk about the major objective changes that happened in Pokemon Unite. Now, if you end up enjoying the video, or if it helps in any way, don't forget to leave a like, and please share this video with all your friends on social media. I'm talking Twitter, Facebook, Discord, MySpace. This information needs to get out there, because if the meta has changed, then everyone needs to be aware that the meta has changed so the games aren't as miserable. And also, comment your thoughts down below because this stuff gets pretty complex, so let's get into the video. Now, you're probably aware that Zapdos and Drednaw have been nerfed and Rotom has been buffed. You might even know the exact amounts. If you don't, that's where we're starting off right here. So Zapdos now drops less energy. This is an interesting change because, for the most part, the team taking Zapdos could already be like capped on energy, or Zapdos is what ends up capping them. So it's not like, oh, this is just a flat 50 score reduction on Zapdos now. It's going to be somewhere around 20-ish maybe, but it could also be 50 in rare circumstances, and it means that not everyone is going to be walking around with a full 50 in their pocket, so they might not even break the outer goals if they're trying to score, and that can have like a lot of weird like snowballing effects and implications. But I think the bigger thing to talk about is Drednaw and Rotom, because now it's all setting up for Zapdos. Zapdos, still the most important thing in the game. They didn't change the scoring mechanics, it's still worth 450, 500 points. Backdooring seems pretty troll, but there's a couple other weird things that are going on, but I don't think they nerfed Zapdos enough to make it not matter. There's just going to be like a couple win rate percentage weird games where that like 15 score diff of the team that either like stole or lost Zapdos coming back and like still scoring. Like, counter scoring is more viable now because you might be able to get that small point flip, but a large majority of games are still going to be unchanged, and Zapdos is still the most important thing in the game. But let's see what happened to Drednaw. So Drednaw gives less shield. This doesn't matter. If Drednaw gave no shield, it's still the most important objective. Like, let's just say this experience change doesn't happen, they only remove 10% shield. Doesn't matter. Does nothing to Drednaw. However, gives 25% less experience. So it's 880 versus 660. Now, my experience from the games I've played on this patch is that it doesn't matter. You still want all 5 people down for Drednaw because there's just not that much experience on the map for your entire team to take in one swoop. And also, it means like you win a fight, so you're potentially getting more experience off of KOs. Also, if you get that, now you're ahead, you start getting Unite moves, you pop them on the opponent, and then you get to break their goal. So like the snowballing effect that Drednaw has on bot is still incredibly important, and I don't think it really changes like the first Rotom, except in some weird situations. And that's where we're going to like transition this video here in a couple seconds. We'll actually talk about what happened to Rotom. Rotom hacks enemy goals for a longer period of time, 15 seconds, 25 seconds. This is significant because it means like it gives you those extra 10 seconds to like steal Pokemon camps and then still get the instant score, and that could lead to some more broken down goals in, I'm not even going to say a few situations, like in a good amount of situations. This is going to make or break the goal standing, which just snowballs into like Zapdos, extra scoring, stuff like that. So that's also pretty big. And another weird thing is that Rotom can troll you. Rotom overwrites Zapdos. I don't know if they actually like changed that in this patch or not. If they did with like the Rotom changes, that'd be cool. But like, let's say you get Rotom and then it crashes into an enemy goal and then you get Zapdos. Rotom's going to keep its timer and then it ticks down to 0 and you don't even have the Zapdos buff there. So like it can troll you. So the 25 seconds means less chance for it trolling you in like the 1% of games that it happens in. And Rotom is now a 6th champion. It got more movement speed, so it just hulls down that goal. If you are not there to, like, normally it's like, Rotom's got some time to push, you know, I can take this camp, I can go up there and stop it. Nah, like, if Rotom is actually posing a threatening push, you gotta go up there and you gotta rotate, and now it's stronger. More attack, more hit points. You need 2 people to stop Rotom, or you just kind of let it crash. And I still think that you can let Rotom crash in some situations, because on this patch, I've seen top take Rotom, I jump up there with a couple of teammates, and it's just Rotom there. So like, people are still taking Rotom and leaving it just to like push really quick, and then that means now their team is on the map, either just taking our, like, they're taking scores, they're taking Vespiquen, they might be bullying out the other 3 or 2 people that got left alone. So like, try to understand what's happening with the Rotom. I still think it's safe to let it crash in some situations because it's only 20 points, but it gets scary when Rotom has a team behind it and then they're really trying to break down the goal. So there's still some ambiguity as to what's happening with the Rotom as it's pushing in. And that brings us to the theory as to what is going on with the Drednaw debuff and the Rotom buff. Now, I still feel that everyone needs to go bot for Drednaw because that's like very key on the power spikes. That maybe like third Drednaw isn't as important depending on like where your team is on experience or something. Now, it's really hard to do in like just random solo queue, but if you're in coordinated play, you might be able to look at it and be like, we're level 12 and we're all like a fresh level 12 or something, or we already have our level 13 power spikes. Like, we don't need Drednaw. So you can either just play to like keep the opponent off of it, or you can just kind of like set up for some other things, get your AO synergy on your camps, and maybe just like prep Zapdos super hard, or maybe go for third Rotom in that situation if the game state is really messy. So I think like what this has effectively done is just kind of shift the priority from like Drednaw early to Rotom late, but you still want, you know, 3-man Drednaw is what I feel like is happening. So we might be in a weird situation, like as the game evolves and develops, things are going to get weird, because it's not hard to break the first goal, even in 1-1-3, as long as the jungle is coming up. So it might just have, like, here's my thought. My thought about the game is that the 3v3 or the 2v whatever that's happening down here, that's just going to stay like that. It's just going to be 3v3, and then the jungles, they want to just kind of push and pressure top effectively until first Drednaw. So the first 3 minutes of the game is going to be like 2-man top, or like a 1v1 top, which like jungle is just making it a non-stop 2v2, because your goal is to break the first goal by Rotom. If first Rotom and this goal is down, then maybe Rotom is worth taking over Drednaw. And that's like also where it gets kind of weird. Like, I think it's still a good amount of advice to just say, hey, 5-man Drednaw. And if you're sticking to that, like, let's say the enemy team is doing something weird. They have 3 at Drednaw, they're 2 taking Rotom. As long as you get Drednaw, if they take Rotom, really nothing has changed, because Rotom isn't worth any more points. Top's probably going down anyways if there's 2 people up there plus a Rotom taking the goal, so it's no different than pre-patch. Really what happens is, if top goal is vulnerable, like if top goal can be broken before Rotom is taken, then that's spooky, because now that first Rotom is going to push this before 5 minutes. So you don't have jump pad to stop it, you don't have, you don't have the reliability of teammates just kind of protecting that. So that first goal is, or not the first goal, the second goal is going to get significantly punished. I don't think you can take it that fast, but there are situations like I've seen first goals break by 5 minutes. If that happens, then Rotom is the most threatening thing in the game. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about first Drednaw. I still think it's like you want a 5v5 down here in most situations. Again, we're going to see how it develops. We're going to see how like certain 5-man, like 5 stacks in solo queue is just toxic, and it like kind of ruins the integrity of ranked and the game in general. And also even like randoms, it doesn't even know what, like, who even knows how the game works in most of the time. Like 90% of the player base just sucks because they refuse to accept good information. They're running things like Score Shield, which is objectively a bad item. If you're running Score Shield, you're trolling, and if you think that some other like trash player that's a content creator says that Score Shield is good matters, it doesn't. It's objectively a bad item. And there's no such thing as top players right now, because we're in a super undeveloped scene where ranked is 5 stacks against solo queue players. So like if you just have 5 players that can play 12 hours a day, congratulations, you're a top 10. That doesn't mean anything. So until we actually see like an official scene develop or a more robust scene developed, nah, right now it's just like 5 people that are decent at the game playing together for long enough to beat all the children. There's no pros. But what I can tell you for sure is Score Shield sucks. But like I said, so it feels like the first 7-minute encounter is going to be relatively unchanged. So like let's say you get Drednaw. Now what you do after Drednaw is like you push first goal and that's it. And I think that you want to immediately back. Like regardless, like like pretty much it's been 5-man at Drednaw, whatever happens down there, everyone starts to rotate up for Rotom. But now when you get Rotom, actually I can draw myself a little Rotom. But now once you get Rotom, it's actually stronger, so you might be able to win that. Sometimes first Rotom just gets completely nullified. It gets stopped about right here, it doesn't go anywhere. Unite moves, cancel a team fight. The team that gets Rotom either gets pushed off or even KO'd a lot, and then Rotom gets stopped, and maybe first goal doesn't even get down for the team that lost Rotom. I think now Rotom is stronger, has more attack, has more health, is fighting with you, so there's just a better chance that like this Rotom fight means a little bit more. It's like that's the most that's coming out of that. But now, like I said, second Rotom and second Drednaw is where things get weird. I think that instead of kind of like wandering around and taking camps or just kind of like looking for little skirmishes, the downtime between second Drednaw and Rotom needs to be like top pressured. Like it's 5-man top until this goal goes down, and then you go for Rotom. Now, if top goal is still up, then your priority should be Drednaw. And I think that might be it. So top goes down, you want to use the buff Rotom, like the speedy boy, just kind of pushing this. But at the same time, you don't want to int. Because second Rotom, that's past 5 minutes. They can just keep sending and defending, and if they have Unite moves up, then you could get Ace for being overextended and stayed too long. So I think what we do is you make a solid try, you make a solid push with Rotom, but if it starts going south, you don't want to give up comeback experience, and you also don't want to do that. Like, Rotom is still Rotom. Again, no more points. The extra hack can matter in some situations, but if the opponents are fending you off, you're not going to get any benefit from that extra hack, so it doesn't really do much. It's still just Rotom. So you want to use it. You want to try to push and like pressure the second goal, but if not, second Drednaw. Again, you just can't find that much experience elsewhere on the map. And if you're playing for experience and like there's no camps up and you get Drednaw, now you're just super ahead. Now you're just super snowballing, and that's going to be pretty big. But what I think is, let's say you take second Drednaw, so that's the crown. You know, you win second Drednaw. I don't think you want to push bot. I think you want to push top, and then you want to make sure that the second goal goes down. Like that's really my read here, is that the game is like relatively unchanged in the priority of like Drednaw versus Rotom, but how you play in downtime changes. Because now we need to consider the situation of like a 2-minute and 20 Rotom that has free access to the base. And this almost feels like chess. It's like, yeah, the queen is now pinning that rook, and then you have a diagonal on, you have the black square bishop going for the black square king or something. Like, when you've completely opened up this file, Rotom, like, what happens if Rotom crashes the base in overtime? Like, I think that this is maybe the situation that is opened up by the change that then, like, just caused the entire game to completely fall apart and become complete nonsense. Like, what happens if you can just run 500 points into the enemy goal without having to take Zapdos? Like, then you let them score Zapdos, but then you just like take their jungle and you take their Audinos and you take their camps, and then you score like another 100 while they're dropping 500 into your base, and they still have to like push down your goals and stuff. And then, like, I wonder what happens, like, if from like 2 minutes and 30 on, the entire game just completely flips. Let me do some Photoshop magic. The entire game completely flips at 2 minutes and 30, so it's like now you're just playing on the enemy side and you're hoping you end up with more points, like in an otherwise roughly neutral game. However, if you're going into the 2-minute warning ahead and you score 500 points off of a Rotom in their base and they score 500 points off Zapdos, you still win. So after that, they've probably also like broken down all your goals, so you just need to defend here. And that's also where the game gets weird. Like, sometimes, oh man, I've completely kerfuffled this one too, so we need to undo a lot. Sometimes, well, actually not even sometimes, most times after taking Zapdos, people split, and then they also like kind of take everything on the way into the base. I'm thinking the more optimal way, I hit the wrong button. The more optimal way of doing this is that you want to just send everyone down one lane. Let's say this was already gone. This was gone before Zapdos. This one's still up. You want to send everyone down one lane, and you want to put everything into here, and then that means this is going to be harder to defend. So that's why, like, where the extra points come in. Maybe you KO someone defending the base, and then you can run over here and get the score here, or you find the extra points, or all 5 of the enemy team is over here scoring, and then as they're trying to come back, this is vulnerable, and this is, like, slightly harder for them to defend, because, like, if you get all your 500 points here, and then you're, like, running it into this, then, like, this just becomes kind of, like, a harder to defend no man's land, because like if they say, like, let's say they send everyone out of base here and then someone's like scoring another 20 or 30 in here, that could be the game flip. Or if they only send 3 and then all 5 are pushing this goal now, then they might just funnel in and you could find the extra like 50 points in this goal, or you get the extra 100 points there. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I've never like kind of I've never even thought about it up until this point, if like all 5 people should just stay together, because pretty much what happens is you get Zapdos and then everyone just scatters to dump their points. And I don't know if it's actually better to leave this up, because it leaves that ambiguity. If anything, it leaves the bigger opportunity for a misplay where 2 minutes, like you've seen it happen, you know, there's someone scoring here, the entire team jumps, and then like one person just backdoors and wins the game because your team's full of idiots. So, I mean, like, if you leave that opportunity open for the team to leave that misplay, then that could also be better, especially if, like, we're just playing cross-map because Rotom has now pushed the game into an just an alternative dimension. I know it's alternate, not alternative. I'm losing my mind right now just trying to, like, figure out how the game works. However, I feel like for third Rotom to reliably crash into the enemy base, you kind of have to take first Rotom. So, I mean, this is more like coordinated play theory or just weirdness. I think that if you're playing for just a +1 advantage at Drednaw, you should still be doing everything okay. So let's say you have like one person on top. Let's say you even have two people top. And let's just say the opponent's running 2. It's a standard 2-1-2 game or something like that. 2-1-2 both sides. If they send no one, like if they keep 2 top because maybe they think Rotom is good or something, I think you can still send one person down, and then it's a 4v3 at Drednaw, and that's okay. Like, it still, like, leaves the potential for a steal from the enemy side, and also it's, like, it's just better to have, like, 5v3 and, like, guarantee the Drednaw. But if these two are playing for the Rotom and you have one person contesting it, that could also be very valuable, because now you have the advantage here with a chance to steal here. So, if, like, you leave your... you can't leave your strongest laner, because the strongest laner creates a better, like, Drednaw thing. Or like a Drednaw pressure, but I mean, like, if they're, like, just keep the disadvantage, you know, keep them disadvantaged at Drednaw, and then if you can just, like, put one person here for the Rotom chance, that's what breaks down this first goal. That's what opens up the second goal on second Rotom. And if there's 2 people taking Rotom at 7 minutes, that also means a higher chance for third Rotom in their base. And I think that's where it's going to get kind of weird. However, I don't think that the Drednaw Nerf and Rotom Buff means that, okay, we don't need 5 down here, we don't need the team down here, Rotom is more important. Rotom is not more important. First Drednaw, because it's also, like, just the way the experience scales and stuff, and Drednaw's flat, still 660 is insane. Like, you just need first Drednaw regardless. Like, first Drednaw is the biggest priority, unless top goal is down. Because then, like I said, now you're talking about, like, a 6-minute second goal break. A 6-minute second goal break ruins the day just for the enemy team, because, like, first goal's down, Rotom's getting... start at like 7-ish, runs it down here, and then you just put all those points in Rotom, and like that's when, you know, depending on what happens with Drednaw, Rotom might still be pushing, or the goal might still be active here. It's like, the second Drednaw is taken, if you can't instantly score here, go to top. Just go top, and then push that Rotom, go for first Rotom around like 6 minutes or something, and then I think the entire game just plays around top. Anytime Drednaw isn't up, you're top. Anytime Drednaw is up, you're going to be focusing around Drednaw, except for maybe third Drednaw. And if you bait the enemy into, like, taking third Drednaw for free and Rotom is crashing into their base, you just win the game. And that's where, like, I think things get really weird. It also means, like, if everyone scores down here and then runs it to stop or contest Zapdos, like, the game gets too weird. The game gets too wacky. And I think that's what's happened. Weird situations are now possible. And I like that because Pokemon Unite isn't binary anymore. It was binary in, you get Drednaw, Rotom doesn't matter, but keep an eye on it, and then you just want to keep prioritizing, like, your Audinos if you lost things, or making sure you're getting Vespiquen, just keeping up experience, and there's, like, random skirmishes because people are stupid in this game. But now it's like, oh, yeah, I think it's just, you just want this top pressure, and then that translates into Rotom, and in ideal situations, if you're really Giga playing for it, then you want Rotom in their base. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if it's going to happen reliably around 2 minutes, but I think that's where the meta is going to go. I think that's what's going to happen, because 1-1-3 just kind of came out and ruined Pokemon Unite. Score Shield just kind of came out and like Score Shield developing. I think that Score Shield needs to be nerfed so bad players stop picking it and ruining games. Like, it's just unhealthy, but not in the good way. It's a bad unhealthy. I feel like there's ways that that's happened in League of Legends before, where things get removed for the player's own good. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, there's just been, like, a lot of murkiness that's come out of Pokemon Unite, and I think that that's what's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of development, there's going to be a shift, and then the game is going to kind of land in Rotom prioritization, but I still think that Drednaw is, like, the big thing to worry about for a while. We're going to see how it goes from there. And I think that's kind of it. So, the last couple of months of memorizing the timings in Pokemon Unite and making them as natural as breathing, I think it's been thrown away just a bit, to where now it's like, okay, keep an eye top. You know, Rotom means something after the first goal has gone down, and then, like, it doesn't mean anything after 5 minutes until it's 2.5 minutes. You just need to put time in the game. So yeah, a little bit of what you've learned has been mixed up. I mean, that's just gaming. You know, the meta is going to change. A lot of, like, what you've practiced gets kind of thrown away a little bit, and then you have to relearn, and then you have to kind of, like, figure it out again. But if you master this and you get good at this, you're going to be so far ahead of the crowd. it's going to be insane. Like, I think, again, the meta's kind of going to shift or, like, slide top in a weird way, but that doesn't mean to ignore Drednaw. It just means, like, pay attention to the game state. Understand that things are a bit more complex, and that if you capitalize on that complexity, you're just going to win games, and that's going to be what makes things kind of wacky. But for the most part, it's effectively the same game. And even if you play for, like, 3 Drednaws, you're probably going to be fine, unless, like, something giga wacky happens, so don't let that happen. Yeah, and then we're gonna see it. So just kind of play the game as you have been, and then slowly just kind of adjust it to, you know, keep an eye out for things. If things I'm talking about in this video start happening, then just kind of, like, again, shift over towards that. But I still think that, like, Drednaw's optimal and the game is relatively the same. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully you shared it so other people get help. And there we go. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.